What's up, you guys? So I'm doing another live. Something that's been a big problem for me lately that other influencers have been telling me about is harassment. So I wanted to bring it up here because I talk about it on the regs on my other page. Hold on, let me put my... This is so terrible, you guys. I try to sleep with as many layers as possible in this tent because I don't want any like filth, that condensation, or like, we're on grass, but you know, this is not a dog park, but you know, people still walk their animals and stuff, and I'm pregnant. So we have 4 layers of tarp. We have the bottom floor of the tent, and then I leave on whatever dirty clothes I have from the day before, a long sleeve, an undershirt, and then like 1 extra layer, like just that covers my arms and back. Then I put on, then I sleep on the yoga mat. Sometimes I leave my coat on, and then I put this on. If we're straight from the laundromat and our sleeping bags are clean, I don't need to do any of that because for the most part with my yoga mat and my sleeping bag, I don't get wet. Like I said before, when they intentionally flood us, like when they pour water into the tent, which they've done numerous times, that's when I start being fearful for my health and the health of my unborn child, because I'll be sleeping in like a t-shirt or like a bra. Like I'll be sleeping in like a sports bra like this. You know, my belly will be out. It's so itchy. Like I like to let it breathe every once in a while, and like some shorts inside the sleeping bag. And I'm warmy and I'm protected. And I wake up, literally they pour a bunch of water in. So I would like that to be added to my lawsuits, but that's neither here nor there. If you guys are following my personal page, the coco.chanel.ysl, that is my artist page and that is my personal blog. And there is some overlap with my artist page. GoPro Solo, a GoPro Solo production is the only page I use for my business right now. And the reason is my name and branding have been used by so many people harassing me. If you just go to your little search bar and type GoPro Solo, there is nothing but hateful, disgusting parody accounts that have been created, which is why I wonder truthfully where my team is at. Where do I have a digital team that's doing anything about this? And the reason again why that's pertinent is because I bought this. It's not hot at all. What the fuck are you talking about? Is because they say any publicity is good publicity to an extent. Keeping your name relevant is, you know, good. But at what cost? You know, if someone's going to beat me up and that's going to be my only way to stay in the news, I'd rather stay out of the news. You know what I'm saying? So to my influencers who are struggling right now because a little birdie came, or maybe it was some geese, and told me that there's a lot of other influencers, micro-influencers, influencers who are in their 2000s, influencers who are in their 50,000s, 60,000s, influencers who are in their hundreds of thousands of followers, who are still being affected, probably changes in your digital team and moderation. So, what the fuck am I saying? I'm like a hot mess. I came on here for a reason. Hold on, let me put on my snuggle. But yeah, basically, we have a lot to get done today, and before doing so, yesterday, I was distracted by a lot of hate, a lot of harassment. If you guys follow my personal blog, coco.chanel.ysl, you know that I've been documenting this for approximately 4 years. If you were a fan of mine when I was still working as a webcam girl, then you also know that I had another Instagram in the 50, 60,000 range for followers that I also shut down. All of this was strategic in moving forward with my career and the evolution of myself as an artist. I don't want to shoot nude anymore. I don't want to shoot, I've never done porn. I've never had sex with another person on camera. It's always been a hard, absolutely not for me. A hard pass, no questions asked, just like certain drugs and other situations are all absolute no's and will never change from that. I am a free, thinker, and I do believe in making your own choices and figuring shit out on your own and shit. Like, you don't know what works for you until you know. And part of finding out what does is finding out what doesn't. So I'm a firm advocate in finding out for yourself and figuring shit out on your own, and not being subjected to the hype, so to speak. But I've been being harassed for at least 5 years. When I was working only on ManyVids and Cam Soda and stuff, I would receive a lot of attention that was positive. Most of the people in my comments were saying things like, "Oh my God, you look beautiful. Oh my God, I love that outfit. Oh my God, that's such a great idea." And I was getting 500 comments on a post that were all positive. Even the post that I only got 20 comments on, they were 100% positive. And what happens when you're receiving that many comments, like on my most recent YouTube live broadcast, I believe I received 2,000 something comments. They were all so nasty and fucking trifling. You guys have no idea. Like, they were terrible. If one of my children ever engaged in some sort of harassment like that, I would 100% want to beat their ass. And I don't believe in corporal punishment or fighting your kids. But that's just an expression I use when I'm very angry and feel like they should get slapped. My kids would never do that because I've taught them morals and values that go against that. So unless someone were literally extorting them to be mean, my kids are programmed, much like myself, with the morals and values and ethics that my family has taught me, which is do unto others as you would, like to be done unto yourself. Treat people kindly, deploy compassion and empathy whenever possible, and, be kind. If you're confused about a person, place, or thing, ask questions. Don't make accusations or judgments prematurely, because that affects people in ways that you don't really understand. And that goes from business to interpersonally and even more than that. But when you're receiving, and I receive or have been receiving in the past, anywhere from 5, to 50 messages a day calling me fat, ugly, a thief, a liar, a crackhead, a bad mom, a deadbeat, a rat, a snitch. The things that I've heard about myself, I'm like, who are you talking about? Because anyone who really knows me, none of those are words they would use to describe me as a person. I'm just not like that. So it's just, I don't know. It's really interesting. What I can tell you guys as someone who has been, like I said, in the 6-figure income bracket, as well as the minimum wage and below minimum wage, as well as been human trafficked and forced to work for not a single penny. I have existed at this stage in my life for one period of time or another in every one of those spaces. And so I can truly and honestly say that no matter how much money you're making, it's never going to be static. It's going to change. You could be up today and completely down tomorrow. So what you want to do is remember who you are. Respond as who you are rather than who they want to make you. Some fucking big fat bitch sitting on her couch who either can't or won't go to the gym. What does that mean? Maybe she can't because she can't afford it. Maybe she can't because the gym banned her for whatever reason. Maybe it's not her fault, but they banned her. Maybe she can't because she doesn't have a babysitter. If she's in your comments talking shit to you, it's because she can't or won't put in the work that you're putting in, to get the results that you want. So you have to keep, first, my number one rule is consider the source. Why are you saying this mean thing about me? And why do you hate me? How many times has anyone ever seen me, Heather, Coco Chanel YSL, go into someone's page or their home or their gym or email them and say, you should just kill yourself, you dusty fat cop snitch bitch. You're disgusting, and that's why your family doesn't love you, and that's why you can't see your children, and your vagina smells like meth and crack. I'm making this shit up, but this is the type of shit they say to me. to have these examples to use to you. It's been 4 years that these people have been saying things to me, and all the people who write these comments are like fans of the show Love After Lockup, which means that they are friends of like people in prison, friends of people with severe drug problems. So most of them have drug, alcohol, or criminal histories. You guys will be the number one advocate of saying Heather's not like too uptight and she doesn't really judge people. But there is a definite correlation as far as the analytics go, as to what these people are saying to me. So you have to consider the source. I don't do drugs. It's that saying, misery loves company. Even though I'm in a tent and miserable because I'm separated from my children, if someone calls me a crackhead because they're smoking crack, or because they presume that I think I'm better than them because I don't respond to their comments, or people let me use the heater rather than, just there are any number of reasons that I won't bring up right now because a lot of you listening won't understand. But just be true to who you are. In your responses. It's fine to fly off the handle every once in a while and like really fucking treat them, like tell them the truth of themselves, because we're not perfect and we make mistakes. But as a general rule, be in your most evolved version of yourself and try not to let those little mishaps and mistakes take place, because they use them as fuel, they use them as bait, they use them as ammunition. So the number one rule, stay true to yourself and consider the source. It's all like one, it goes together. The number two rule, don't respond to them, don't feed into it. You guys have seen, I've posted screenshots and tagged the Chicago police as well as the feds to show how many hundreds, just in the last month, of these hateful messages I've received. Hundreds. None of them are true, but they're very intrusive on my ability to do business. I block them, I ignore them, I post them, I document them, and then I forget that they took place. In the beginning, when this was very, very, very first taking place in my life, so when I was brand new to being bullied and abused in this tremendous way, this is not like kindergarten abuse or bullying. This is like on a national scale or even worldwide scale. People from all over the world saying like crazy shit. I wasn't ready at all and I wanted to kill myself. I did. I was so depressed. And it came on the heels of a time period where I was sex trafficked. So I already wanted to kill myself. I was so fucking depressed. You guys have no idea. I was so depressed. I would spend hours on the phone with Dylan crying, telling him like, I don't know if I can make it anymore. I don't know, what to do. I'm scared. Please help me. Like, it was bad. And I'm going through this in my personal life, and then online, they're telling me, like, kill yourself. There were times, not because of the harassment and bullying, but because of the isolation from my family and people who I love, when I thought I might kill myself. And I'm not telling you guys that for pity. I'm telling you that because this is the world we live in. This is the society we've built. These are the things, these are the conversations you need to be having with your children, But I wanted to die. And those types of messages and hate, they're still coming through 4 years later, despite every attempt I've made to get law enforcement and the FBI involved. There's been carryover into my real life. I was bludgeoned. I was attacked by a man, a stranger, who I had just met, with the tire iron from my own backseat of my car, in a public place in broad daylight with 100 witnesses or more. My skull was busted open and I needed staples. I was taken by ambulance from Melrose Park to Elmhurst Hospital, and they kept me, there for 4 or 5 days and sutured my head. I was jumped and stabbed by 3 women with screwdrivers. I've never been in a fist fight in my life. I couldn't fight to save my life. I don't know how to fight. I don't fight. I use words. I communicate. So that's really the main reason why I would document. If you're only getting hatred via DM or on your comments, just block and move on. Just block and move on. documenting, it does something for the ego of these abusers. And like I said before, unless there is crossover into your real life, just block and move on. If you want to document it on your own, fine, you know, but I would truly, unless you feel fearful for your life, as in someone has physically attacked you and you have gone to the criminal justice system or the authority for assistance and they have blatantly ignored you, don't document publicly. Document publicly if there's crossover into your real life and they're like fucking with you. But if not, like I said, don't make a mountain out of a molehill if you can help it. And don't stroke the ego of these people. These are very sad people, clearly, you know, who are in desperate need of some sort of attention, but you are not going to be the one that needs to give it to them. So just block and move on. Another thing I've struggled with is the reality that these abusers try and create, the narrative that they try to perpetuate. You have to be strong enough to say, they say this about me, and there's real world crossover, so they are causing curated events so that it looks like what they're saying could be true, but this is not my life and this is not true. You have to be able to stay in your reality. I'm a mom. That's reality. I have had custody of my children from the day they were born through the day all of this began. That's reality. I am not a drug user. I smoke pot for pain because I've had a Mallory Wise tear in the past, and I choose with my own free will to use pot for pain relief, medicinal marijuana over ibuprofen or Tylenol. I'm not a drug user. I'm not smoking crack. I'm not smoking whatever else you smoke, right? So when they come through the line saying those things, we become who people tell us we are. You have to be so strong. Your feet have to be so cemented in who you are, not who they say you are, that you never allow yourself to become who they are trying to create you to be. When there's 1,000 voices telling you that you are not shit and you don't have a digital team to go through and weed out all those messages and you're doing it on your own, how do you keep yourself mentally strong so that you don't subconsciously begin to be that person who they are trying to create? Well, for me, as I've said before, you literally brainwash yourself back. They say you're a bum. You start listing off reasons why you're not a bum. Well, do bums apply to 40 to 100 jobs a month? I don't think they do. Do bums walk 30 miles in each direction to drop off a couple bags of groceries to their children? I don't think they do. Do bums contact city aldermen and city officials and create fine art for sale? And, I don't think they do. Do bums, successfully build numerous social media platforms while exposing themselves, their true selves? This is my hair. This is my face without makeup. These are my nails without acrylic. I don't think they do. Right? So you remember who the fuck you are. And then you use who you are to feel sorry for who they are not. You acknowledge the person who has spent the time and effort in attempting to break another human soul, and you feel sorry for them. And then you deploy kindness and compassion. And what does that look like? In response to 30 or 40 messages calling me a fat crackhead, everything they say is contradicts each other. Aren't crackheads skinny? Everything they say to you, you're this, you're that. You write one fucking nice thing back to them. You probably started off as a really nice person. There must be something really terrible going on in your life at this point for you to be saying such awful things to me. I'm going to pray for you, and I'm going to hope that things get better for you. And you send that message instead. And then you copy paste that motherfucker and put it in the notes section. Put it in the notes section of your iPhone. Who has an iPhone? I'm sure Google has something similar. Put it in the notes section. And then anytime you receive a message like that, when you feel as though you're about to lose control and your fingers start typing a response that is, fuck you, bitch, blah, blah, blah. You go to your template and you copy and paste your response and you put that shit in the comments. and you still block that person, and later on in a year or two from now, it's fun to see, because Instagram knows how many of the blocked accounts that you've restricted access to your page have created other pages just to look at your page. There's a line that I think it was Lil Durk in No Auto. He's like, yeah, they used to hate me, but they fanned out. It's something like that, something along those lines. And that's real. Okay, let me translate that to you, to those of you who don't listen to rap music. They used to hate on me like it was their job. They hated me, but they realized that they were going to get nowhere by doing so. They gave me a chance. They listened to me. They consumed my content, and now they love me. Now they're fans. So that's what ends up happening. And so many of these influencers and, influencer marketing is such a big thing, and it's such a new career path for a lot of us. And so many of us are but we are having our power ripped away from us. And we are not able to control, our responses, because we are not used to being subjected to such hatred and at such disproportioned rates and at scale. Most of us, if we've ever been bullied, it's been by one person, maybe a class of people, right? At worst case, never by the masses. So you have to keep things like that in mind and do what affects you the least to do, because you don't also want to be investing all of your time and effort in responding to ignorance. There's an analogy that I use about submersion. And it's like you're sitting in a grass field, right? And you are dry. And the grass is dry. And then it starts to rain. And you're still dry because you put a tarp over your head. And then you notice like it's starting to come down more, and the grass it's not in a puddle, but it's starting to get moist. So you put a tarp down on the floor and you're still dry. But after enough rain falls, and we can compare the rain to the hate. After enough rain falls, it doesn't matter if you're standing under a tarp with another tarp at your feet. The grass, the human being, will begin to absorb that energy, that water. You will get wet. So don't expect yourself to be completely unaffected by this hatred. It's hatred, and it's painful, and it's bullying, and it's wrong. And in the world we've created, no one has been able to reel it all the way back in, which is, in my opinion, one of the most important campaigns that GoPro Solo is working on. I don't want to name it something that someone else has named it, but it's the basic concept of love is love, not where it applies to, sexuality, in the way that it applies to humanity. Right? So make that one make sense. What do I mean by that? If you see someone hungry and you buy them, a coffee and a fucking donut, that is love. That is love. What's your impact? If you see someone freezing cold and you don't have an extra jacket, but you walk by and you make a Facebook post and say, yo, if anyone has a sweater or a jacket, there's an old man, homeless person on the corner of this and that, who would benefit from a jacket. That is love. You don't need to save someone's entire life to save someone's entire life. You don't know when one cup of coffee and a donut, or $1,000, or borrowing your vehicle, or giving someone a ride is going to be a game-changing play. If every interaction we have with the outside world is considered a play, then winning the game of life is easy, as long as you make sure that you always do at least one more positive thing than you do unintended negative thing. What are unintended negative things? I'm in a tent right now. I have nowhere to go. I could be killing the grass underneath me. I don't mean to, but I also I'm pregnant and I'm tired. I don't want to hurt the grass underneath me. I am the earth. I'm a Capricorn, earth element, So I don't want to hurt the grass. I don't want to kill the grass. I don't want to be an eyesore to the community. I just don't know where to go. I have nowhere to go. Those are unintended negative effects. And so what positive effects do I have? I come on here and I share my experience. Look, it's 11:02, which is my life path. I come on here and I share my experience. It's fucking humiliating. You think I want you people to see me no makeup, hair in a messy bun, sitting in a tent, possibly in water, who even knows anymore? No makeup on. No. In my snuggle. No, dude, I don't want you people to see me that way. I want you to see me at my best. I want you to see me with my six-pack abs, not my fucking, cinnamon rolls. I want you to see me with my favorite bra on, under my favorite top, with my most flattering shape trainer, with my best pair of pants and my most adorable and fashionable heels and my most expensive bag, because that's who we are. We want to be liked. We want to be accepted. Whether we admit it or not, that is just basic, instinct. Human nature is, even if you don't care about it, we don't want people to hate us. You can get nowhere like that. So even if it's a learned behavior that comes from a selfish place, that's the way we are as humans. That's the way the world has conditioned us to be. But I share these with you because I truly feel like I have to be going through this shit for a bigger reason than just to be abused and beat down. I have to be learning these things and experiencing these things over and over and over again, because the last time I went through this hatred, I didn't do a good enough job using my voice. I wasn't vocal enough. I wasn't in enough self-control. I wasn't in my most evolved space. That's all I can really think of, because there is no reason, from the perspective of the belief system that's been ingrained in me from my family and the Bible and just morals and values and ethics of society, that this situation should be continuing after a day, let alone after a year, let alone after 4. And that's why GoPro Solo is making creative campaigns such a priority. Have you guys ever seen that Dhar Mann? He does or did, I haven't seen him in a while, but he does or did content that was ethically sound. Now, a lot of these content creators that started making ethically sound content, they started getting exposed. I want you to ask yourself, exposers, what is your impact? What are you going for here? Because it's one thing to hold someone accountable in a way that's person to person. It's another thing to negate an overall very positive message. So I don't know anything about Dhar Mann. I don't know if he's a good person, a bad person. I don't know if he's a phony. I don't know anything about him. I don't know if he is Buddha himself, or who's another peaceful person, whatever. I don't know him. But I do know that he is a model for a group of content creators that a lot of companies were looking forward to working with and hiring, because he produces morally sound messages. But none of us, we're all human. None of us are perfect. So there's this miserable group of people who are trying to get in where they fit in by quote unquote exposing content creators with positive messages of light. They are trying to silence the light, because that's what evil does. Because as I said before, in the presence of truth, lies can't exist. So yeah, that's kind of what's been going on with me, and what I would advise the other influencers who have been dealing with that hatred. You are a micro influencer with 200 to 2,000 to even 20,000 followers. You are going to start feeling, if anyone takes you seriously, you are going to start, noticing the hate along with the positive messages that are sent to you. If you can't handle it now, that doesn't mean get out of the kitchen. we have to train ourselves to handle this, you know, and someone has to be able to handle it so that we can figure out ways to heal it. And one of the largest shows of misery is in the way that others are treated. So it doesn't mean a person is a miserable person or depressed person. Yesterday I was screaming at the top of my lungs at Xavier. I never really do this. We don't have these problems. But he was doing like really obscene things. He was like showing his entire butt in the middle of Lincoln Park, like literal 6 inches of crack, you guys. Like, it was disgusting. It was like this much. It was awful. And he like had his whole pants down. And I'm like, Xavier, I always talk to Xavier about PR. I'm like, we're already going through hell. GoPro Solo, Heather, Xavier, my family, like, when I say hell, just me not being in the same household as my children, that's hell for all of us, okay? Us not being together, my children not having a home with their own bedrooms with their mother, that is hell. So when I say my family's going through this, that's what I mean. I don't mean like every day we have to be being bludgeoned, like calm down. You know, just not being together is hell. Now add in all the other shit, it's definite hell. But when I'm already going through that and I have a sit down with my significant other and I tell him, Xavier, I need you to be more aware and more, you know, on top of the PR of our life. Like, we know who we are. You know, we're good people for the most part. I have very, very socially accepted basic rules for life that are of the moral and social ethics of most or more than most. And Xavier agrees with most of them. Walking around, leaving a bunch of garbage all over an area where we just stayed, showing your butt crack, intentionally knocking over our bags so that you take longer to pack up our stuff, knowing that it triggers my anxiety, or that I have a doctor's appointment at 2 that you're going to make me miss, or things like that, because that's what was going on yesterday and what's been going on a lot of the times that you hear me getting upset. When these things happen, I have to remember I am not the person who is yelling and getting upset. And I have to realize that in that moment I am miserable, but that doesn't mean I'm a miserable person. You know, in that moment you may be miserable. You know, we are not, none of us are dealing with situations in life that are 100% fun and amazing at all times. We have hills and we have valleys. And in dealing with the valleys, we make mistakes. Now, do I think yelling is always a mistake? No, I don't. There's a practical application for yelling. Number one, I want other people to hear and see what's going on. So I'm going to attract attention to the situation because I'm desperately trying to get into the doctor for the health of my unborn child as well as myself. If someone is doing something intentional to prevent that, I want to be loud about it. I want people to look at what's going on. They're going to remember in their mind, okay, you know, this is happening. It's not her. She's trying to get where she's supposed to be. If this person is physically preventing her from doing so, what would I do, you guys? Am I going to leave my home, my tent, my blankets, my clothes? No. You know, I don't know what this person who is manipulating the personality of Xavier has planned for my belongings if I walk away from them. You know, I do know that I can reschedule a doctor's appointment. I also know that I'm not going to waste the money I have saved for my kids' Christmas gifts to go and replace my living situation, right? So I need to take a certain amount of caution and care with the items I already have so that I can use the $400 or $500 I have saved up, which is nothing, you guys. I'm used to spending about $1,000 on each kid, which I know is nothing for a lot of you. For me, it was a lot. And it hurts me, not that I can't spend it because I have status or clout, but because my kids, I've trained them to expect it. I've trained them to expect to receive what they ask for at Christmas time because they're beautiful kids. They're good kids. They're amazing. And they deserve the world, you know, as do most of the children in this world, you know, or all of them, whatever you want to say. But I have my little stash of money, you know, that I can count on for Christmas gifts for my children. If I leave my belongings here and someone steals them or destroys them, I won't be able to use that money to take care of my children. You know, now that money becomes money that needs to be used to replace the necessities, the bare necessities for life, which are shelter and food and clothing, you know? So it's a lot more complex than it appears at face value. There is a place for yelling. There is a place for for refusing to accept abuse and mistreatment. And that stands for the online realm as well as the real world in real life, you know, in person, 3D life. you have to be able to accept that there are going to be people for no reason who just are awful to you, which is a very hard thing for me. I'm a salesperson at heart. You know, I like to win people over, not for malicious reasons, but just like I said, I just don't, if I walk into a room and I see everyone like happy as fuck, but there's one person in the corner that looks hurt and sad, it immediately captures my attention. And I'm thinking, and you'll ask Xavier, you'll ask anyone who knows me. You know, I've made conversations with people who look dirty, poor, just because I want to see them smile for one moment because they are so void of life and spirit in that moment. There are people who are the opposite of that. You know, there are people who are feeling that internally, but so good at faking and pretending like they're happy that your genuine light and your genuine happiness, it pisses them off. You getting a deal, you getting an opportunity, you getting whatever, it pisses them off. Some of them are righteous to feel that way. Some of them are homeless, have never committed a crime, have no criminal record, and they're being ignored by the world. So they look at someone frivolously spending $1 million for content and they're angry with purpose, right? But those ones, they won't be in your comments. You know, they'll be at the alderman meetings, maybe. They'll be creating content of their own to change the rhetoric. They're too smart to be launching an attack against one single person when they realize that one single person is a model for everything that's wrong or right in the world. And they'll use that model as motivation, as a medium, as amusing to create art or content of their own that changes the rhetoric, that changes the narrative. But then there are also people who are just assholes. Unenlightened. They don't know what the fuck is going on because they don't care to educate themselves, or just they don't know. Some of it's more innocent than that. It's not your job to evaluate every situation. It's your job to cope with each situation to the best of your ability and with the interest of the people who are watching. If you're an influencer, you have a moral obligation. So the people who are watching you as well, they've already seen a lot of the hatred. How much of that do you want to feed into and respond to? How much of that can you afford to completely ignore? And how much of that do you address, and how do you address it? So for everyone who is in the influencer field or hoping to get into, you know, the influencer space, understand that this is going to happen. And for those of you who are successful influencers, there will come a time when sponsorship declines and you got to come up with something new. So stay creative, stay resilient, cry it out when you need to, forgive yourself, forgive others, and try not to isolate. That's the biggest one I can tell you. Try your darndest not to isolate. And isolating doesn't need to mean being alone physically. You could be alone physically and not be isolated. Advantage of whatever social media platform or community that is going to help you get through. But try never to turn completely inward for extended periods of time. If you need a week or a day by yourself, fine. But like I said, always come back. Always come back, always reel it in, always come back to who you are. Keep your feet cemented. Let your head go into the clouds, let your head go to the right, let it go to the left. But keep your feet cemented and reel it back in, you know. All right, you guys, Xavier's back with breakfast, and I'm going to continue doing my makeup and preparing for the day. I've been having such a fucking headache getting my lab orders, so I'm going to handle that. And I love all of you guys, and I hope that you all have a great day. And just don't let them win when their goal is to kill you. Stay alive.